going to be hard to interview you like this. Are you there? There you are.
All right.
Perfect. We'll usually give a couple till about 9:05 people to pop in. I just posted the reminder on Facebook, so give it a couple minutes.
All right, cool. Is this good? Is this like a Q&A?
Yes, 100%. And we record it so people can come back to it. It's
nice.
funny, there's actually been a couple where Andrea's in particular, where I know Jeffrey Lamica has been like, go watch that, because it's, just like full of good nuggets for people who, need mentoring and can't always ask every person individually. So this is where we're going to ask you kind of how you got to where you're going, and then if you have any advice for people.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for
you look great so early in the morning. That's awesome. Yeah, you look wonderful. So do you, Kim.
Hey, thanks, Rick.
You're welcome. Where were you just eating there?
You got to get up at 7 o'clock to get your kids out the door. I've actually had to run out, drop children off, come back, feed them breakfast.
Nice.
That's exhausting.
Oh, and it's, the hard part is that they only do it 2 days a week. And so the habit is not yet formed, right? It's not like we're doing it every day.
Well, this one you start to get into a routine and stops again.
I know it. That's all right. We'll take what we can get. I love Thursdays and Fridays because they're my no children days. Oh, Kaylee, we were just talking about Kathy. She put that up there because she's apparently a very bad driver and has been pulled over many times. Right, Kathy? She's not answering.
The right answer is yes.
I'm actually getting ready to go walk the dog, so I was on mute. I don't want you to.
Oh, gosh, no worries.
That's okay. We're just happy you joined.
I love these Coffee with the Cappers. I've been listening to them as I walk the dog, and they make me feel like much less of a loser when I'm not the only one that's experiencing things. And I've had a little takeaway from every single one of them.
Cool.
And one of my favorites was Chelsea saying, there's just days I don't feel it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not alone.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you know what? It's great to see how different personalities have approached the business differently. There's not one size fits all, I think, has been another thing I've learned, Although then there's also the, in some ways, there's nothing new, right? You got to do the thing. So, all right, it's 9:05, Rick, and we want to be respectful of your time. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, cool. Do you want to interview or do you want me to, Kim?
You can take it away. You are extremely perky this morning, so go for it.
I've had my large coffee, although I wish I'd gotten a refill before starting this. So Rick, we always kind of just start with telling us a little bit about how you got into real estate and maybe a little bit about what you did before real estate.
So I got into real estate in 1994. So I was 19 years old. Okay. Yeah, my background is my father, now my brothers run the building company, but my dad was a new home builder in Webster.
Okay.
So I was actually working at a garden store up until I graduated. And then, my two brothers, they're the handy ones of the family, and I can't really turn a screw. So I guess the path for me was to get into sales. So I took my real estate course at RIT back in the day, and got right into real estate. I went to one semester of MCC. Really, college wasn't for me. Yeah. And I got right into the business. So
did you start in the family business then? Is that how you started, or?
No, so actually I got my real estate license and I worked for the real estate company that was representing my father. Okay. And that's how I kind of got into it, if you will. So what I mean, being 19 years old, there was a big learning curve and things like that. So, but yeah, so it's been 26 years that I've been in the business. So I know no different, I guess.
It is. I mean, you really this is your one and only career, which is unusual. Absolutely. A lot of people start with something and then eventually kind of transfer into real estate.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got into it. I was working at Rochester Community Savings Bank part-time when I did get into the business. So I was there for a little bit. And then after about a year and a half, 2 years, I got into real estate full-time.
Okay. So, So just talk to me about a little bit about like working kind of for the company that represented your dad. So it wasn't like you were only doing business with Visca Builders.
Correct.
Okay, but you did do some. Did you represent all of the builds there?
No.
Like Stacy does for Crosstown, or?
Yeah, I mean, my father is from Italy, so it's kind of like, you know, he wanted, so back in the day, Lamplighter Realty represented a bunch of builders. So my father wanted me to hold open the subdivisions for other builders to see what they were doing and how he was, like, I mean, I was holding models open in the wintertime with no heat. There was no running water.
Right.
So my dad wanted me to kind of see how that was versus when working with him. He had a nice furnished model all the time. Heat was on and everything. So I kind of had to go through a little bit of some growing pains, you know, and work for those builders. And then once I was able, about a year of doing that, you know, I earned the right, if you will, to represent my dad here and there, you know, but I didn't do it. You know, there were other realtors that from the company that were representing my father for longer. So I kind of had to sneak in a little bit, and I would go in actually earlier than the open house hours to try to, you know, get some time out there. And I actually picked up a buyer that came in at 11:30. I'll never forget her. Her name was Angela Rezavicius. And she came in. I talked to her for a little bit. That was on a Saturday. And then Monday I came into the office, and back then you really didn't have voicemail and stuff. And there was a little note card that said, Angela would like to put a deposit down on a lot and build. So that was kind of my first home sale.
Okay.
And it was, and to be honest with you, it was, it seemed easy because it was the one time I was there, and I remember driving home after putting the offer together, and I was like, man, this real estate's going to be easy. Right. Yeah. So
the lucky first sale, the lucky first sale.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was my first sale in real estate.
Okay. So you don't really do a lot of new builds now. Talk to us about the difference between new builds and kind of doing a more traditional real estate where you're working with, you know, homes.
So back in 2008 when the market tanked, you know, I mean, you know, to get kind of personal, it was, you know, the market was bad. New homes weren't selling. I was representing at that time my family for about, I want to say almost 15 years. And, you know, my brothers and I, we just kind of weren't seeing eye to eye. So so I kind of stepped down from doing the home sales for them. And that back then, I mean, that was still 75% of my income. So that was a really tough and scary transition to go from having that to not having anything at all. So I kind of had to be comfortable being uncomfortable, if you will, to where I had to, you know, have a house, had a family and all this kind of stuff. So I had to take the different direction and go into the existing part of the market. So it kind of worked out to where I went to a different company, and there was an agent who was getting out of the business. So I interviewed with her to try and take over her book of business. And back then she was a, you know, a $6 million producer just picking up the phone. So it was all by referral. And so I started working with her and got right into the existing part. So it was I was very fortunate to kind of meet with her and get into that because that kind of fueled the existing part. So
talk to us a little bit about that, because I don't think a lot of people that we've talked to yet have kind of started by trying to like earn into someone's book of business. Was that you would do business for her and then get a referral fee, or how did that work?
Yeah, so what would happen is the business that she would get, we would then meet together with the client. And then once we would secure the listing or the buyer, we were kind of on a 5-year plan. So I would give her like 35% referral for the first year, then 30, 25, and then 20. And then it would kind of work its way out after 5 years. And then I would take over her book.
Okay. And how did that work out long term? You feel like that was worth it? I mean, certainly it sounds
Oh,
like.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, and especially in that transition where, I had a lot of new home clients. So my database were people who are going to be staying in their houses a lot longer, and there wasn't going to be so much of a turnover. So having that kind of bridge that gap, if you will, was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. What else would you say you did in those beginning years? Because this is a lot for like newer people, to get other types of business, or was that mostly your bread and butter between working, the new builds with your dad and then this referral?
Yeah, I mean, that was my bread and butter, but it was also kind of, working the fundamentals of the business. I really concentrated on doing open houses and
Okay.
trying to meet as many people as possible. And that really, that helped out quite a bit,
Okay.
doing the open houses. I really didn't do too much of the expireds and anything like that. Cause even back then, we didn't have the information that's available to us today.
Right.
It was more like, I don't know if you guys remember the crisscross directory and things like that. It was a book that was about this thick, and it had every single neighborhood and, people's phone numbers and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a real cold calling. So
It was awful.
it was awful. Yeah, it was terrible. It was like, here you go. They slammed the book down on the desk and they were like, start getting in there and pick neighborhoods and call. And it was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something that's a little bit more personable, right?
Yeah, absolutely. How many of your book of business, do you still have any from that original book of business? Would you say you're still building on that original referral arrangement?
Yeah, so I would say probably about 50% of it didn't really amount to anything.
Yeah.
But, over the years, that other 50%, you would sell a house and you get the referrals and things like that. So it definitely, I mean, it's definitely still working for me today. Absolutely.
Okay. How would you say you market now? Are you still mostly a referral-based business? Do you do anything like as far as getting new business?
Yeah, so I'm probably about 85% referrals.
Okay.
So I do, it's still a lot of referral business. Since coming over from, coming to Keller Williams and now, kind of learning the different models and things like that. I'm definitely going after, more business. It's, like when we fill out the economic models and things like that, it's kind of like, because you're doing so much by referral, my success rate is up there, so I don't really compete on too much stuff. So, this year and especially, next year, I'm kind of putting, instead of doing like, 90 to 95% success rate, I'm kind of putting in there, a 70% success rate. So that makes me want and see that I have to have more appointments.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea is that, if you lose out on a listing, the mindset I'm trying to get into is that if I lose out on a listing or working with a buyer, but I'm getting more appointments, it's ultimately going to result in more business.
Right.
So that's kind of the mindset that I'm trying to stay within. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you doing specifically to try and get more business outside of your sphere, I guess, or even more business within your sphere? What are the action items that you're taking?
So I'm starting to really, I have someone kind of working command for me, doing different things weekly through command, through social media. I'm actually, I started that this month, and through social media, I've picked up a couple possible new buyers through there. But the other thing too is just adding more to my database. I'm trying to feed the database.
Okay.
Right. And then starting the drip campaigns through there and stuff like that. So
okay.
That's working really well.
Oh, we've got to share more about that. VA. John, what do you mean? Virtual assistant. Yeah. So is the command person a virtual assistant that you're working with that's helping you with command?
It's actually, so it's somebody, so I hired Abby from the West office.
Mm-hmm.
So she's helping me, do that,
okay.
monthly.
Yeah.
And, so she's putting out, we're doing, market, what is it called there? The neighborhood watch.
Oh, the market watch. Yep.
The market watch, so we're putting those together in certain areas. And then what I'm doing with that is I'm kind of going into, that neighborhood and really honing in on there and boosting the post within that neighborhood within a 3-mile radius of it.
Okay.
And there's been some good interaction through there.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm doing. So I think, I can kind of tell you the numbers, but like the one that I did last week, I focused in Webster, and that one there, what do we have here? I think I touched on, so there was 727 views.
Okay.
Of this neighborhood, and I reached 1,100 people.
Okay.
And it cost me $10.
Okay.
And I was able to add 4 people to my database.
Okay, that's awesome.
So,
and that was based on what kind of advertising? You said a neighborhood market watch?
Yeah, so they call it, what do they call it here through command? Yeah, it's like your neighborhood. So you go in and you say, okay, I want to put this street in there, and then it takes all the data from the street, and it shows you the number of solds, if the market's steady, what's on the market, price per square foot, what people are saying that they like about the area. So like whether it's coffee shops, or if there's a golf course, or something like that. So I guess it's just more of getting people to engage with your content and, boosting the post for the people who are in that neighborhood to show up on their social media. And I also do it through Instagram.
Okay.
I think they're getting a lot out of it.
Okay.
And people are also commenting, sending me messages like, oh, you know what, I would love to see my neighborhood in there. So then I'll focus on that the next year or the next week. And then we're also doing like some gift certificate giveaways, like some different, like support your local restaurants and things like that. So if you share the post or that sort of thing, we do a raffle of $25 and that sort of stuff. So we're kind of in the infancy stage of it. So we're going to start tweaking it, but yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
It's better than not, than doing nothing, know? And it's all of it. And it's all available through command. So it's,
do you run your whole CMA through command? Not CMA, CRM.
CRM. Yeah, CRM.
Too many letters.
I know. It starts with a C. But is your database run through command?
For the most part, but I still do direct mailing to my database. So, those, it's so like, when I talk to new agents, it's kind of like their CRM is more of a sphere of influence versus where when you sell houses and they're in there, I kind of call it more of a database. So with them, I'm sending out more stuff personally to them, So I touch them, I want to say 7 times a year.
Okay.
And actually Premium Mortgage sets all that stuff up for me. So I met with Premium. They put together like, Valentine's Day stuff, St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July. They'll send that all out for me.
Okay.
And I just pay for half the postage.
Okay. That's pretty
so I hit,
I hit touches through those sorts of mailings.
Yeah, for the most part. Yep.
Okay.
And then I send out my magnetic calendar. I'll probably send that out next month. And I tell you what, that little magnetic calendar, every time I go into a property where, it's a past client, it's on the refrigerator, every single one.
Okay.
So I get a lot of gain out of that too.
Okay. Any other things that you do as far as nurturing your clients to kind of keep them engaged with you, past clients and Sphere? I know some people do pop-bys and they do pie parties and any events, any of those sorts of other like.
No, I haven't gotten into that yet. And that's something that I do want to, do is the client events. But, you know, like if I'm driving and I see something or something reminds me of a client, you know, that's kind of where I'll pick up the phone and give them a quick phone call.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. I also reach out personally on the anniversary of the day that they closed, and I'll reach out to them, you know, and touch them like that. For me, it's hard to reach out to somebody if I don't have something to give.
Right.
You know, like
Yep.
I don't like to ask. So
Right.
I just kind of touch in like that. And to be honest with you, getting out of your comfort zone to reach out to them, like you think like, okay, why would they want to hear from me? But once you do call them and you start talking and things like that, I mean, it turns into a hour conversation, and they're really happy to hear from you. So
Yeah.
you get a lot of gain from that. I had one time a gentleman, I called just to check in with him. He wasn't happy with it. And then he actually called me back the next, like later that night. And he was like, yeah, so I'm just giving you a call. Like, I'm really curious as to why you were giving me a call earlier today. So it was and that kind of set me back a little bit,
You're
but
right.
you got to figure some people are going to be like that. But for the
No
most
matter
part, I
what
mean,
you
it's great.
do.
No matter what you do, right? You know, so I was like, you know, I'm just giving you a call to catch up. That's it. And he's like, well, you know, I'm going to be in my house for the rest of my life. And if I'm not, you're going to be the person I call. I said, okay, great. That's cool. Thank you.
Just making sure.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
other things we can provide, right? I mean, do you need any referrals? Do you need, you know, I mean, I think people do
Right.
forget. They think it's like only if I need you to sell my house and nothing else. But we got to
Yeah.
train them that we're a resource.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, Mary, is that one of the things, because I have the construction background, a lot of my past clients will call me for things that they need to do to their property.
Right.
So it's like, I know that we have the Homekeeper app and things like that. I don't use it just because they call me and I don't want something to be put out there. I still want to have that interaction with them.
Right.
You know, and that happens quite a bit, to be honest with you. You know, like my brother, he's doing I think just this year he did 4 big remodel jobs. Obviously we don't want our clients to remodel, but if they need to, I'm their go-to person, and then at least it starts the conversation with them. So
Yeah, I mean,
Do you
100%.
talk to
They're
them
not going.
even, do you talk to them even so much as like if they're thinking about doing something, do you provide like is that a good move as far as the house goes? Will that provide value? Will that be a wash for you at the end? I
yeah,
know that a lot of
absolutely.
people are curious about that.
Yeah. So what I typically do is, you know, it's asking the questions, you know, what they're trying to get out of it, how long they're going to plan on being in the house. You know, if they're going to plan on moving in 3 years, it's not worth it. But a lot of times, you know, I set up an appointment to go over to the house and look at what they want to do. And then, you know, it's a little bit of time, but, you know, that little personal touch, like I'm big on the personal,
Right.
you know, interaction with them. So, and it's very appreciative. And then, you know, down the road, you always get a referral, and, you know, it's definitely worth it.
Are you a ask for referral type agent, or do you just hope that by being great at what you do, the referrals will come?
That, yeah, second part. Absolutely.
I was going to answer that for you because I was like,
Well, you know,
Yeah.
some people don't want to ask for referrals. I think Mark Seawick was one that's like never really been like a, hey, you know, although he's starting to do that more and more, but just being present and contributing and all of those sorts of things has helped grow his business. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
another thing with you is that you kind of wear a lot of hats, right? I mean, you've got all the training going on and you work with all the mentees. And so do you find it hard to keep this business going and do that? I mean, how do you work all of it?
No, for me, I have to keep busy. And especially in some of the downtimes that we typically have, I find, you know, working with, you know, you guys as the mentors, talking with you, and, you know, different ideas that we bounce across each other, working with the new agents, you know, kind of working on some of the classes. I think it just sharpens, you know, you get back to the fundamentals, and I think it just really keeps me into saying, okay, this is what I need to do. You know,
Right.
I still need to do this stuff. And then when you see the success of the new agents and what they're doing, it just, you know, I love it. I mean, I love seeing, you know, everybody succeed. But no, we have a lot of meetings, and, that takes up some time, but it's well worth it.
Right.
It's nice to be able to, talk with everybody, and I just have to keep busy. I have to keep busy. If I don't keep busy, I wonder what's going on, why am I not having this and that sort of thing. It just makes me feel a lot better. So I have to keep
absolutely.
busy.
Yeah, I was just curious if, like, just the struggle balancing, because a lot of people who work part-time in real estate find it hard to, like, balance those things, but
Absolutely.
both of yours are both in real estate. So as you're working with the mentees, like you said, you're learning and honing your skills. So
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I've had to, one of my, and working with disc assessments and stuff, I've kind of been able to see what my shortfalls are and what I need to work on. And, now I'm keeping, like, my calendar here, what I have to do, how to balance both parts of, the mentor program and my business, and really stay on tact and trying to, you got to figure 26 years in this business, we've never had a punch a clock. So
right.
it's like, how do you, schedule your time where you're in a business where a lot of things can pop up,
Right.
so,
I know I struggle with that.
and one of the things that I've really had to struggle with quite a bit is, keeping my time, right? Like enjoying the things that I want to do, and being able to really look at that and say, you know what, I golf on Wednesdays in a golf league after 3:00. That's an appointment, right? I look at it as an appointment, and I'm able now to go out and really enjoy my time, which allows me to respect and enjoy the business more.
Right.
Instead of making it where I'm always on call. Like, I get the shakes when I have like an alert on my phone, like, oh my God, there's something there, or a voicemail, I have to get back to it, or there's an email that wasn't responded to. But, over the years, I've learned to just, take it as it comes, and,
right.
Work with it. And it definitely, it makes you more productive, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. When you've got set hours, like in that window of time, I've got to get it all done, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, because you actually have an unusual vantage point of being, like, kind of the head of all the mentees, is that, do you see certain characteristics over and over where, and not that you can, like, look at someone and be like, that one's going to make it, that one's not going to make it, but do you see certain characteristics that are more prone to success than others? Like, where are people making mistakes, and what are the successful ones doing that the ones that get out of the business in 2 years not doing?
The successful ones are taking the classes. They're educating themselves, right? Again, 26 years in the business, I look to learn something new every single week, whether it's, going online, like the KW Out Front magazine that comes out. There's a lot of great information in there, but the new agents who are taking the classes, practicing, taking the ignites, I want to say that from what I see and the data that I keep and stuff like that, 80% of the agents who take the classes are staying in the business, and they're graduating the program. And also, I'm a big believer in activity breeds activity. So the more things that you can do every day, in regards to real estate, it might not happen today, but activity breeds activity. And being engaged in the office. I think the agents who come to the office meetings, pick up a lot of tidbits, learn, go to brokers opens and things like that. They're the ones that are staying in the business. The ones that don't do the education or don't do the classes, they fall right off.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's why
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, even with regards to when I'm giving tours and things like that to potential new agents or newly licensed agents, I'm always encouraging people to come into the office. And quite frankly, I use Jeffrey as a great example of that. Like, while it's not required by any stretch, the more you're in and the more people know you, the more agents, let's say they have an excess of business and they need an open house done, or they need somebody to fill in for them, because they're going, they're not available tonight or whatever. Like, those are the people that they're going to reach out to first, because those are the most familiar faces and they've maybe made a connection. And another point that you made is the classes, and I think that it's important to note, like, not just going through them once. Like, you can do Ignite again, you can do the buyer series and the seller series again. And I like to say that like, as much as we watch a movie maybe 2 and 3 times, each time we watch it, there's, you know, a nuance or something that we missed the first time around.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think that you're watching it through a new lens, maybe even 6 months later or a year later, because you're at a different spot in your life or your business or whatever. So
I love the way you put that, because it's the truth. Like, I'll use Mark Brienzi for an example. Like, he came to the buyer series, I want to say 3 or 4 times. And he said, like, the first time he's there, he was learning the contract, right? The basics of it. The second time, he already knew the basics and he picked up something else because he wasn't so concerned about the basics. And then the third time, he picked up something else. So he came to the class, I say 3 or 4 times, and, you know, he's graduated the program, he's a capper, and now he's a mentor, right? Same thing with Jeffrey. He's came to the classes a bunch of times. He's graduated the program. He's going to, you know, he is a capper, and he's a mentor. So that's the thing. Like, and I love the movie, because that's the thing. Like, you pick up something every single time, and, you know, the practice, you know, perfect practice makes perfect, right? So the more you can do, the better. And I just love, you know, like, if I pick up something, I say, oh, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. That's when, you know, I try to implement it in some of the classes that we do and in our program. But that's why we're also keeping track now of the agents, the new agents who are taking the classes versus the ones that are not. And, you know, Mary, you said, like, you know, you're not able to say, okay, a new agent, you know, that agent's going to make it or that one is not. But I can tell you in a month or 2 months if an agent's going to be in the business. Like, if a new agent comes in and they don't have their database together in a week and a half, 2 weeks, you know, I question that. Like, I'm a little concerned, because when you get into the business, that's where you really want to have the excitement and you want to have the drive to be able to get going. And if you don't do that in the first month or 2 months and you're not taking the classes, it's unfortunately you're going to be behind. And that's you know, so we try to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of leads me to something else, is after 26 years, just mindset. Do you feel ever that you need to kind of reinvigorate yourself, or how do you keep yourself moving?
Oh, every day. Absolutely. Every day. I mean, you know, this market is tough, right? It's you know, you're working with, let's say, okay, you're working with buyers, right? And like, I just worked with a buyer recently. I'll just use them for an example. You know, you work with them, you put in an offer, and you know that the offer is not going to get accepted. Oh, I'm going to go on $5,000 light, and I'll do an escalation clause up to this, blah, blah, blah. And you know that it's not going to work, right? But you have to allow the process, I think, to move forward. So then you see the second offer is a little bit better. The third offer is a little bit better. Now, finally, we came to terms where we put in a good offer. Initially, we did the escalation clause. That was great. They waived their engineer's inspection because of the fact that everything was brand new in the house. And they got the property. But you're having the conversations with them where you tell them, okay, you know, you didn't get the house. And that's tough, right? You know, they're disappointed. And I used to take things very, very personally. I still take things personally, but not as crazy as I used to be. But, you know, you have to get yourself in a mindset to where you have to really, you know, make yourself feel positive. Because if you don't feel positive, you're not going to be able to, you know, put the positivity out to your buyers or sellers. Right. And they see that. So yeah, I mean, you know, during this COVID, I made sure that I, you know, went to bed earlier. I woke up earlier. I had my time in the morning, to my time, where I was able to do what I wanted to do. Quite frankly, you know, I've gotten into meditation a little bit, and it helps, you know, it really helps your mindset. And yeah, so every day, I mean, I have to, you know, you have to work on yourself to be better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you have to, you know, I just think, like, you know, working with sellers, it's a little bit easier now, because if you price it right, it's going to sell, you're going to get multiple offers. But with those buyers, you really have to let them grow as a buyer and get educated and know. I've never sold real estate for the end game, for the paycheck, right? I've always sold real estate for the experience and for them to be happy. And then that down the road equals referrals and future business.
Yeah.
Okay. And another thing too is that I go to, you know, especially with first time home buyers, I go to closings with them, you know, because I feel as though that agents, the first step of abandoning your client is not going to the closing with them. Right. So first time home buyers, especially, I go to the closings, you're there with them, because it's scary. You know, they don't know what to expect. We don't do anything there, but just knowing that you're in their corner and that little step there, I think makes a big difference.
And you never know. I went to a first time closing one time, and they didn't have like one piece of paper that they needed. And so I was able to step out of the conference room, make the phone calls, get, you know, so that they could keep the process going. But, you know, sometimes you actually aren't able to help, you know, kind of keep
Absolutely.
things. Yeah, I can't even remember what the specifics was, but they misunderstood that they needed like a certified check or whatever it was, you know, and I was able to like get it all handled, you know, so that they could keep the process moving and actually close that day. So
yeah, and to be honest with you, I mean, you know, there's a ton of realtors in Rochester, right? What sets us apart? It's the personal service. You know, how are you going to, like, I reach out to all my buyers and sellers, even if there's nothing going on, I reach out to them every Wednesday morning.
Okay.
And just say, listen, this is the next step, that sort of thing. And having that communication with them goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, goals. Like, what are your long-term goals? Do you have a vision for what the next year looks like? 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah. So, you know, my goal, like in the next year, obviously, you know, I have, you know, with us with the mentor program, you know, I really want to grow that. I want to keep on, you know, I want to make it better. I want to have, you know, I think we're at 60% of our agents who are in the launch program have stayed and, you know, have gone on and become realtors, which is great, because typically it's, you know, 25%, 1 out of 4 make it in the business. So I'd like to maybe grow on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Personally, you know, for me, you know, the next year obviously is just, you know, doing a little bit more business here and there. The next 10 years, you know, I want to get my license in Arizona.
Oh,
I want to
okay.
sell. Yeah. So I've always had a goal or a vision of selling real estate here, you know, from March to October, November, and going out to someplace nice and warm from November, you know, till end of February, March timeframe. So that's my goal, to do that. And I think I'm going to start taking my license out there, because my youngest stepchild, she has 2 years left.
Okay.
In high school. And, you know, once she completes that, and my wife, she can work remotely too.
Okay.
So yeah, I definitely want to sell real estate in Arizona. That's kind of the goal.
But you're not leaving us for good. You're just gonna.
No, I'm lifelong here. I love this, you know, the summers and fall especially, and you know, that sort of thing, and you know, all my family's here and stuff like that. So
Okay.
but yeah, that's definitely the goal, is to get out there.
Any predictions for like the future of real estate, where it's going? Any changes you think are coming down the pike or have already started happening that are just going to keep continuing?
I think we're going to stay in this market for probably another year, no problem. You know, if you really look at it, it's, you know, if you're getting 15, 20 offers on a house, you know, and only one's able to get accepted, you know, there's quite a bit of inventory that needs to be put on the market to take care of the demand, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're definitely going to stay in this. And, you know, it's, I mean, I hope that it levels out a little bit, because this is it's just unfortunate. I mean, people want to buy houses, and what they have to go through is just tough. But yeah, I think this is going to continue into next year. No problem. Absolutely.
Okay. What about from a COVID standpoint, how houses are being sold? I mean, you've been around long enough to see that it's already changed, right? You're not going through the big Bible anymore.
Right.
You know, you think people will still need agents in the same way, or do you think that that will change?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a gentleman at the course that I belong to at the club, and he's a marketing guy, and we actually had a conversation a couple weeks ago, you know, about like Zillow and how they're going to taking over and things like that. And I told him, I said, you know, Rochester is very conservative market. I don't think Rochester, like other markets, I think they still want the realtor to help them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to be fine in that aspect of it. You know, I don't think the way that we're doing business, like with the COVID, even if COVID eventually you get a handle on it and that sort of thing, I don't think it's going to change. I think it's going to continue. But there's a lot of good that kind of came out of this also. You know, like these Zoom meetings that we have and different ways of being able to do business. You know, I think a lot of good did come out of it, and I think we're going to continue to do that. But, you know, I still think I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, I just hope it doesn't spike again with everything being at schools and sports and things like that. But, you know, just like anything else, it becomes normal. Yeah. And I think we're at that point, you know, so, I mean, I'm having one of my best years, and we're going through COVID. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of sit back and think, you kind of sit back and think like, wow, you know, how did this happen? And, you know, back February, March, you didn't know what the hell was going to happen. And now all of a sudden we're here, and it's like, wow, you know, if you look back and you're, you know, what were the steps and things like that. So, but I think a lot of good came out of it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
cool. Awesome. Well, those are my questions. Do you guys out there have any specific questions for Rick that you want to ask him? Unmute yourself and
chime in.
Yes, chime in.
Is this been helpful?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Every single time we've interviewed anyone, you get to learn a little bit more about just what people are doing, how they're doing it. I mean, the fact that you're using, you know, Ellen to kind of help you with command stuff. I find command is a little bit of a scary beast right now. And so I'm ignoring it in some ways because I just don't have time. And every time I try to start to do a newsletter, I'm like, oh, I can't do this, you know? But I think leverage is probably the biggest thing I took out of this.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing. It's when you look at it, like I feel comfortable with certain parts of it, but the other parts I don't, like, you know, setting up landing pages and doing this and doing that. Like it's something that I'll do for a week or 2 weeks or a month, but then you get busy and then you're like, okay, you know, you forgot about it. But in this business, you have to be consistent with your marketing. Like you have to be consistent, and that's the way, you know, I think you get the referral. So I have no problem paying to have it done.
Right.
You know, even if I don't get a return, I mean, if it costs me X amount of dollars a month, I mean, it's actually, I think it comes down to $100,000 deal. If I can get $100,000 deal out of it, it's going to be paid for. And, you know, it's just feeding the database. You got to feed your database. That's the key. But if I could say anything, it's just fundamentals. You have to keep on the fundamentals of the business. Haven't changed, the technology, all that kind of stuff. But if you can stick with the fundamentals, and that's how we developed the new agent binder and all that kind of stuff, is by doing the fundamentals and keeping, you know, active in the business.
Yeah. Kathy, you're unmuted. Did you have a question?
I do. Well, two things. One, what I've noticed from a lot of these coffee with the cappers is that sometimes agents get what I call, it's not nice, prepare yourself, a case of the fuckets. Oh, like you're always on. I mean, don't blow my cover here, but there's days I go grocery shopping in Wayne County because I don't want to see somebody at Wegmans and talk about the house down the street from them. So
Absolutely.
you get that too? It's not
Absolutely.
just me being cranky.
Let me tell you something. Back in the day, I would even sometimes now, like I'm walking down Wegmans and I see, I see someone walking up and you're like, oh shit, I don't want to get into a conversation right now. I've been
Yes!
talking about real
Thank
estate all
you.
the time. And then it's like, there is a parody about it, like where someone like jumps into like, a bunch of cans to get away from that person so they don't see them. I get like that too. Yeah, absolutely. Like I don't.
Okay, good,
Like,
because I thought it was me. And lately, like this market just beats you up emotionally. And there's days I get home and I'm just out of words. Like I can't talk anymore. I'm just done. And my new favorite game is to pretend that I'm deaf in public. And that is really bad, but it works.
Masks help though, because you're like, I don't think they recognize me, so I'm gonna think they don't recognize me and move on.
No, like if there's new people around and they want to talk, I just point to my ear and and they usually talk louder and then smile and walk away. And I get it. It's not nice at all, but I just can't do any more in a day. So it makes me feel really normal that other agents experience that. And then what I'm also getting is I feel like I need an admin. I've been at about 5 million for way too long and I'm just stuck. I can't do it by myself. Virtual admin didn't work for me. And I'm wondering how many of these coffee with the cappers would be interested in splitting a good admin. Like, I don't want a $10 an hour admin that does, high school, college, $10 an hour work. I want somebody like Ellen, but I can't afford her on my own.
Right.
So I was wondering if there were any other agents feeling stuck at about this production where you can't do it on your own. You need extra help. But maybe if I get a couple of agents that are in the same spot as me, we could pool together a good salary to get a good quality admin. Because like you said, I can't do landing pages and run into people at Wegmans and go out and do my normal day and lead generate. Like there's just too many facets of the job. Anybody have any interest in that?
I'm definitely looking for somebody specifically. I'm interviewing now. So if I find anybody and they have extra time, I'll definitely let you know. I want someone who's got like a very good graphic design background. So I know what I'm looking for.
I mean, I have a couple of people, but I'm not going to lie. I hate technology. I don't want to learn it. I don't really care if it's part of my business because 99% of my business comes from referral, thank God. But I just don't want to go and hire somebody to sit at the computer. I need somebody that's creative and wants to do a little bit more. But if that pushes me over the 5 million, there's no reason I can't afford to find a good quality person.
Right. Kathy, I'm going to suggest, can you send me an email or a text with regards to what you're looking for specifically? Are you looking to offload your paperwork and maybe managing your transactions? Or are you looking for somebody to do more of?
No, I'm good at all that stuff. I get overwhelmed with I should update my Facebook. I hate Facebook. I should do something on Instagram. Ugh, yuck.
Gotcha.
And I think that comes from, I'm at the burnout point. I don't want to go out there and be Kathy Weibel Realtor anymore. I want to be Kathy Weibel, hide and nobody talk to me so I can catch my breath for a minute. I just feel really defeated some days where I'm like, I don't want to go out and get more business because I don't really like the stuff that I have going on right now, but obviously that's not a choice.
Right.
So yeah, I'll send out a list. And I mean, I've talked to a bunch of agents and everybody that I've talked to can really be about the same production level and only want to commit to 10 or 15 hours.
Right.
But if we get somebody that, they like doing Facebook and they want to chase contracts or paperwork or whatever, then sure.
Okay.
And I don't know. I love these coffee with the cappers. They make me feel so normal or less of a loser.
No, you're not a loser. And I have to say, thank you so much for the text that you sent me last week. That was awesome.
No, really. I get something out of every one of these. I also text Angie and JD that I want it to be a threesome, but not the way they're thinking. I was like, oh my God, that's it. I need a JD and an Angie, and then I'll be all set.
Oh God. I
But
love
no,
it.
thank you for doing them. They work.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Our pleasure.
They keep me out of the padded room.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my
we all go through the same stuff, and it's just how we let it roll off. What do we do? You know,
Yeah.
what do you do recreationally? You know, how do you get yourself into, you know, your state of mind to where you can get grounded again, and not think about it. I mean, you know, I mean, I was getting text messages yesterday at 10:30 from somebody that wanted to go look at a house today, and it's like, okay, well, you know, I'm in bed and I'm just kind of watching television, and you get this phone, you know, whatever, and you're like, do I respond to it? You know, and it's like, you know what, you can, it's 10:30, you know, are they really, you know, here's the thing. If somebody, how many times have you picked up the phone when someone is called, okay? And you're talking to them on the phone, and then that one time they leave a voicemail, and you call them back within 10 minutes. And what do they say to you when you return their phone call in 10 minutes when you're ready to talk to them? Thank you for returning my call so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So you don't have to answer the phone right then and there.
Right.
You can let it go to voicemail, do what you need to do, don't get sidetracked, and then return that, and they're going to be even more respectful that you return their phone call in 10 minutes. Like the lady that Jane Harvey was her name, the one that I took over her book of business, she put in her voicemail, she will return calls if they're left between 8 and 8. What was she doing back then? She was setting the expectation. If it's after 8 o'clock and you leave a voicemail and it's on her voicemail saying it, you leave it at 8:30, you're gonna get a call tomorrow. So your night, whatever you're doing, you're out to dinner, you're catching a buzz, whatever you want to do, that is your time to be able to do that, you know? And that's the thing, you gotta control your business somehow. And I know it's easier said than done, but you can do it. Like I was going to say, like at Ridgemont, I'm a member there. Like people are like, oh, how much business do you pull out of there? I'm like, not much. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I don't want to. Like when I go there, I disappear. Like I want to go golf. I don't want to walk into the area to the bar and there's someone there that we lost out on a house 2 days ago and I got to talk about it.
Right.
I want that to be my time.
Right.
Right? If
Right.
someone is going to give me something, great, you know, or want to talk about, of course I'm gonna use it, but I'm not there to get business. I'm there to enjoy myself, and that's my release, you know, and that's my time. I'm sorry?
Decompress.
Decompress, man. That's what you got to do. You know, we have to do it. Yeah, we have to do it. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's taken a long time.
Yeah.
It's definitely taken a long time.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm glad. I mean, who else has questions? I know we went past it. I love this kind of stuff. I love just chit chatting and, you know, anything we can, you know, help out. I mean, I'm even after this, if you guys had any questions or anything like that, I mean, my phone's always on. I mean, just let me know. And, you know, anything we can do to help, because, you know, I mean, if you really think about it, and that was the other thing too, is like the mentor program, like what I kind of get out of that is that we're putting good agents into the field. I mean, how many agents do we deal with from other companies that are seasoned, that have been in the business, that just do business poorly, you know, and they don't know what they're doing? Like we're putting good agents into the field that are able, you know, that's what we have, and that's what we need. You know, we need good agents, because that's what's ultimately going to keep us in the business, right?
Yeah.
As long as we do a good job as a whole, right, then we're going to stay in business. If we start to get, you know, do our job, you know, shitty and not work together and stuff like that, that's what's going to put us out of business. We can be our own worst enemy in this business. We're not, you know, we have to come to a compromise, right? We have to work together. Like when you get those agents, they're like, oh, my client this and my client that. It's like, all right, dude, pump the brakes. You know what I mean? I totally understand. We're all working in our client's best interest. What do we need to do to get this to move forward?
Right.
so.
Yeah. I tell you what, especially now with mortgages being so far behind, that the agents that are really impressing me are the de-escalators, not the escalators, not the here, blah, 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 you ready? It's the ones that are like, I'll talk to my client, I'll let them know what's going on. We'll make this, the ones that help you and don't like just get so agitated and feel like if they're not yelling at you, they're not working for their client. When you really have no control over how fast this mortgage process goes.
Right. And the other thing too is that, like, let's say, Mary, you write an offer on my house and your offer is not accepted. I'm going to call you to tell you that you did not get the offer. And I'm also going to say, hey, you know what? Either your price wasn't high enough, your terms were not high enough, because with this buyer that just got the offer accepted, their big thing was, they had to do an engineer's inspection. Right. And then when you're able to go back and say, well, their terms were better, they did not do an inspection, then the second one, then the third one, and they keep hearing it, you're educating them.
Yeah.
And that helps all of us, help our clients. That's the whole thing, So you just got to take the time.
Yeah. I definitely think in this market, people have been more willing to kind of share why they lost the deal. Like when it's 1 versus 1 and not in this feeding frenzy, people weren't really sharing, but now we need to know why we lost for the next one, right?
Right.
Sometimes it helps your client understand that it was a cash offer, $5,000 over, unlimited escalation. Like, you were never getting that house. So don't feel bad if we did anything wrong. There was no getting this house,
Exactly.
That helps because sometimes they think we're not guiding them enough, and there's just some houses that aren't attainable because of what we're going up against,
Yeah, right. Like, I didn't, 4 houses we didn't get. Is there something wrong with my realtor? Is that why I'm not getting it? No, but if you have the information and you're able to pass that along, it helps everybody out.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, guys, I think we can let Rick go. We've kind of taken up a full hour at this point. Gone. Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Rick. This was awesome.
All right, great. Thank you. Hey, if you need me to do it again or whatever, just let me know. I love it. So
all right,
thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Right,
welcome. Have a fantastic day, everyone.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.